The fluorescent lights in the Lincoln Park Community Center flicker for the third time this week, casting shadows across the worn basketball court where 15 kids are trying to focus on their homework. I make a mental note to add "call electrician" to my already impossible to-do list. Right below, find $3,000 for next month's rent. And above, figure out how to feed 30 kids on a budget meant for 20. My name is Elena Morrison. I'm 28 years old, and I run this community center on Chicago's South Side with nothing but determination, a master's degree in social work that cost me everything, and the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that's become my normal. 3 years ago, I was married to my high school sweetheart, planning a future that looked nothing like this. Then a drunk driver ran a red light on a Tuesday afternoon, and suddenly I was a widow at 25 with a mortgage I couldn't afford, and a hole in my chest that never quite healed. I sold the house, sold most of our things, took the insurance money and the settlement, and poured it all into this place, this dream that Michael and I had talked about over morning coffee and late night planning sessions, a safe space for kids who needed one, a place where zip codes and circumstances didn't determine futures. Some days I'm not sure if I'm honoring his memory or running from his ghost. "Miss Elena." 7-year-old Marcus waves his math worksheet at me, his gap-toothed grin infectious despite the frustration in his eyes. I don't get this one. I crouch beside his table, my knees protesting the movement. At 28, I already feel ancient. "Show me what you've tried so far." The door to the center opens with a gust of November wind that cuts through my oversized cardigan. I glance up, expecting to see another parent for pickup, but instead I see him. He's tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair that's styled with the kind of precision that speaks to expensive barbers and morning routines that don't involve choosing between coffee and toothpaste. His coat is charcoal wool, tailored to fit shoulders that suggest he doesn't spend all his time behind a desk. Everything about him screams money and power, from his Italian leather shoes to the watch on his wrist that probably costs more than my annual salary. He's completely out of place in my world of scuffed floors and peeling paint. CTA Hazone, insert after approximately 200 to 250 words. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. A boy of about 9 walks beside him, small hand clasped in his larger one. The child has the same dark hair, the same sharp features, but where the man carries himself with quiet authority, the boy seems uncertain, shoulders hunched, eyes scanning the room with something that looks like longing mixed with fear. "Can I help?" "You?" I ask, straightening up and moving toward them. My voice comes out more defensive than I intend, but I've learned to be wary of men in expensive coats who show up unannounced. The last one was from the developer's office, informing me that my lease wouldn't be renewed unless I could match the very generous offer some luxury condo company had made for the building. The man's eyes meet mine, and I feel the impact of his gaze like a physical thing. They're dark, almost black in the center, with flecks of amber that catch the flickering fluorescent light. Intelligent eyes, assessing eyes, the kind of eyes that miss nothing. "I hope so," he says, and his voice is smooth, cultured, with the faintest trace of an accent I can't quite place. Italian, maybe, or somewhere Mediterranean. "My nephew needs a safe place to spend his afternoons. I was told this community center has an excellent after-school program." I look down at the boy, who's staring at Marcus and the other kids with naked want on his face. "We do," I say carefully, "but there's a waiting list. We're at capacity right now." It's not entirely true. We have space. What we don't have is funding for another child, especially not one whose uncle can clearly afford private tutors and exclusive programs. The man follows my gaze to his nephew, and something in his expression softens. It's a subtle shift, barely noticeable, but it transforms his face from intimidating to almost human. "Money isn't an issue," he says quietly. "I'll pay whatever the program costs, double it, if that helps other families." I blink, caught off guard by the offer. That's very generous, but please. The single word stops me cold. There's no arrogance in it, no expectation of automatic compliance, just simple honesty. His mother, my sister, she passed away 6 months ago. His father died 2 years before that. I'm all he has left, and I'm trying to give him some normalcy, some childhood. Your center was recommended by 3 separate people as the best place in the city for that. The boy looks up at his uncle with such trust, such desperate hope, that I feel my carefully constructed walls beginning to crack. I know what it's like to lose everything. I know what it's like to grasp at anything that feels like home. "What's your name?" I ask, crouching down to the boy's level. He glances at his uncle, who nods. Encouragingly. "Luca," he says softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Luca Andretti. Andretti." The name registers somewhere in the back of my mind, familiar in a way I can't quite place. Chicago is full of Italian families, successful businesses bearing names that have been here for generations. This could be any one of them. "I'm Elena," I tell him, offering my hand. He shakes it solemnly, his grip surprisingly firm for such a small hand. "Do you like basketball, Luca?" His eyes light up. "Yes, but I'm not very good." "That's okay. Neither am I." I smile at him, then stand to face his uncle again. "The program runs Monday through Friday, 3 to 6. We provide homework, help, dinner, and supervised activities. It's a sliding scale fee based on income, but if you want to contribute more to help other families, I won't say no. We desperately need the funding." The honesty slips out before I can stop it. His eyes sharpen with interest. "Funding problems?" he asks. I shouldn't tell him. I don't know this man. Don't know anything about him except that he wears expensive clothes and has a nephew who looks at my beat-up community center like it's paradise. But something about his directness invites the same from me. The building owner is selling, I admit. The developer who wants to buy it isn't interested in keeping a community center as a tenant. I have until the end of January to either buy the building myself or find a new location. Neither seems particularly feasible right now. His expression doesn't change, but I sense a shift in his attention. He's listening with the kind of focus that makes me feel like I'm the only person in the room, even with 15 kids and 3 volunteers behind me. "How much does the building owner want?" he asks. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. 2.3 million. For a building that's falling apart and needs at least $500,000 in repairs. But it's in Lincoln Park, and apparently location is everything. "It is," he agrees. Then, surprising me, he extends his hand. "I'm Dante Andretti. It's a pleasure to meet you, Elena." I take his hand, and his grip is warm, firm, confident, the kind of handshake that seals deals and builds empires. "Likewise. I'd like to enroll Luca starting Monday, if possible. And I'd like to discuss the building situation with you, perhaps over coffee. I have some experience in real estate negotiations. Every instinct I have is telling me to say no, to keep my distance from this man who radiates power and danger in equal measure, who looks at me with eyes that see too much. But I think of the flickering lights, the leaking roof, the 15 kids who need this place, the 30 who will need it next week, and the 50 after that. Coffee sounds good, I hear myself say. But I don't date clients' families, or anyone really. I don't have time for complications. His mouth curves into a smile that transforms his face completely. It's not the polite, professional smile I expected. It's genuine, warm, and entirely too attractive. "Good thing I'm not interested in complications either," he says. "Just coffee, and possibly saving your community center." Something about the way he says it makes me think he's lying about the complications part. But I'm too desperate and too tired to care. "Monday at 10? I suggest. There's a coffee shop 2 blocks from here called Rosie's. I'll be there." He squeezes Luca's shoulder gently. "Say goodbye to Miss Elena." "Goodbye, Miss Elena," Luca says, his voice a little stronger. "Now, I'll see you Monday?" "You'll see me Monday," I confirm. I watch them leave, the tall man and the small boy, and I can't shake the feeling that I've just made a deal with someone I don't understand. Someone dangerous in ways I can't yet define. Behind me, my assistant director, Maria, a 50-year-old woman who's seen more of life's darkness than anyone should have to, appears at my elbow. "Do you know who that was?" she asks, her voice low and urgent. "Dante Andretti," I say, still watching through the window as a sleek black car pulls up to the curb. "Why?" Maria's face has gone, pale. "Elena, the Andretti family used to run half the South Side. Gambling, protection rackets, you name it. Dante's father was Don Andretti, one of the most powerful mob bosses in Chicago until he was killed in a turf war 15 years ago. My stomach drops. "Used to run," I repeat, clinging to the past tense. "You said, used to. Dante took over after his father died." Maria continues, her words coming faster now. "But word on the street is he went legitimate. Sold off the illegal operations, invested everything in real estate and construction, clean businesses. People say he's reformed, that he's trying to build something different. I turn to face her fully. And do you believe that? That someone can just walk away from that life? Maria's expression is complicated, equal parts skepticism and hope. I believe people can change, she says finally, but I also believe the past doesn't let go easily. Be careful, Elena. Men like that, even the reformed ones, they're dangerous. Not always because of what they do, but because of what follows them. I look back at the window, but the black car is gone. All that remains is the November wind scattering leaves across the empty sidewalk and the memory of dark eyes that saw too much. He's just helping me with a real estate problem, I tell Maria, trying to convince myself as much as her. And his nephew needs a safe place. That's all this is. But even as I say it, I know I'm lying. Something happened in those few minutes. Some invisible thread was pulled, connecting my world to his, in ways I don't yet understand. And as I return to help Marcus with his math, as I go through the familiar motions of my evening routine, I can't shake the feeling that Monday morning won't just be coffee and real estate advice. It will be the beginning of something I'm not prepared for. Something that might save this place I've built from Michael's memory and my own grief. Or something that might destroy everything I've worked so hard to protect. That night, I lie awake in my studio apartment above a Korean restaurant, the smell of kimchi and garlic seeping through the floorboards, and I think about Dante Andretti's eyes, about the way his nephew looked at the community center with such desperate hunger, about Maria's warning, spoken in the tone of someone who knows exactly what she's talking about. I think about Michael, who believed in second chances and redemption, who would have seen Luca's face and opened the door without hesitation, who would have told me that people deserve the opportunity to be better than their worst moments. But Michael never had to navigate the complicated reality of Mafia, families and reformed criminals, and the thin line between salvation and destruction. I grab my laptop from the tiny desk that doubles as my dining table and search Dante Andretti Chicago. The results are exactly what I expected, and somehow worse. Articles from 15 years ago detail the bloody turf war that killed his father, Don Marco Andretti. Speculation about whether young Dante, barely 25 at the time, would take over the family business or let it fall apart. Reports of violence, territory disputes, the kind of organized crime that makes movies but ruins real lives. Then, about 10 years ago, the narrative shifts. Business acquisitions, real estate developments, charitable donations, a carefully crafted public image of a businessman who left his father's legacy behind. But buried in the more recent articles, I find hints of something else. Whispers of old enemies, resurfacing. Questions about how exactly Dante acquired certain properties. Rumors that his construction company has ties to labor unions with questionable practices. The phrase reformed criminal appears in several articles, always with a note of skepticism. I close the laptop and stare at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the city at night, sirens in the distance, the rumble of the L train, the shouted conversation of people walking home from bars. This city is full of people trying to outrun their pasts. Who am I to judge whether Dante Andretti's transformation is real or just another form of camouflage? But as I finally drift toward sleep, Maria's warning echoes in my mind. Men like that, even the reformed ones, they're dangerous. I just hope I haven't invited that danger into the one place that's supposed to be safe. Monday morning arrives with freezing rain and the kind of gray sky that makes Chicago feel like the end of the world. I stand under the awning of Rosie's coffee shop at 9:55, watching water stream off the edge in silver sheets, and I consider leaving. Just turning around, going back to the center, and pretending Friday never happened. But then a black town car pulls up to the curb, and Dante Andretti steps out into the rain like he doesn't even feel it. He's wearing a different coat today, navy blue instead of charcoal, but just as expensive. He doesn't run or hurry. He simply walks through the downpour with the confidence of a man who expects the world to accommodate him, not the other way around. "You're early," he says as he reaches the awning, shaking water from his hair. A drop catches on his jawline, and I watch it slide down his neck before I catch myself staring. "I'm always early," I reply, pushing open the door. "To the coffee shop. Comes with running a program for kids. You learn to build buffer time into everything." Inside, Rosie's is warm and smells like espresso and cinnamon rolls. The owner, Rosa herself, looks up from behind the counter and her eyes widen when she sees Dante. She knows who he is. Everyone in this neighborhood over 40 probably knows who he is. But she smiles, professional and polite. The usual, Elena? Please. And whatever he's having. Dante orders an espresso, black, and insists on paying for both before I can protest. We take a table in the back corner, away from the windows and the handful of other customers seeking refuge from the rain. Thank you for meeting me, he says, settling into his chair with a grace that seems at odds with his size. Everything about him is controlled, measured, like he's always aware of exactly where he is in space and how much room he takes up. Thank you for the generous donation, I counter. Maria told me you dropped off a check Friday evening. $20,000 is far more than the after-school program costs, even for a year. His expression doesn't change. I told you I'd double the cost to help other families. I keep my word. That's more than double. Consider the extra an investment in the building fund. He accepts his espresso from Rosa with a nod of thanks, then turns his full attention back to me. Tell me about your lease situation. Everything. The timeline, the developer's offer, the building, owner's motivation. For the next 20 minutes, I lay it all out. How Mr. Chen, the elderly owner who's had the building for 40 years, was approached by Millennium Development Group with an offer he couldn't refuse. How they want to tear down the whole block and build luxury condos that no one in this neighborhood could afford. How my lease expires January 31st, and Mr. Chen has been apologetic but firm that he needs to sell. Dante listens without interrupting, his dark eyes never leaving my face. He doesn't take notes. He doesn't check his phone. He just listens with the kind of focus that makes me feel like everything I'm saying matters. Millennium Development, he says when I finish. Marcus Volkov's company. The way he says the name makes something cold settle in my stomach. You know him? We've crossed paths. His voice is carefully neutral, but his eyes have gone hard. He's aggressive in his acquisitions, not always ethical in his methods. Are you saying he's doing something illegal? I'm saying he operates in gray areas, pressuring building owners, making offers that seem generous until you read the fine print, finding ways to force out tenants who won't leave voluntarily. He pauses, studying me. Has anyone from Millennium approached you directly? A lawyer came by 3 weeks ago, offered me $50,000 to terminate my lease early and walk away. When I said no, he told me I was making a mistake, that businesses that don't cooperate with Millennium tend to have problems, permit issues, code violations that mysteriously appear, that kind of thing. Dante's jaw tightens. That sounds like Marcus. He doesn't like the word no. Neither do most powerful men, I say before I can stop myself. His eyes flash with something. That might be amusement. Fair point. But I'm not here to pressure you, Elena. I'm here to offer you options. What kind of options? He leans back in his chair, cradling his espresso. I can buy the building from Mr. Chen. Match Millennium's offer. Your lease stays intact, rent doesn't increase, and you keep running your community center. It sounds too good to be true. Which means it probably is. Why would you do that? I ask. What do you get out of it? A clear conscience, he says simply. And the knowledge that my nephew has a safe place to go after school. That's not worth $2.3 million. Maybe not to you? He sets down his cup. But I grew up in this neighborhood, Elena. Before my father moved us to the suburbs, before the money and the big house and all of it, we lived 3 blocks from your community center. I know what it's like to be a kid, with nowhere to go after school. Nowhere safe. There's something raw in his voice, a glimpse of the boy he used to be beneath the armor of the man he's become. I want to ask more, to push deeper, but I sense that would close him off entirely. I looked you up, I admit. Your father, the family, business, the past. He doesn't flinch. And what did you find? That you inherited an empire built on violence and fear, and that you supposedly walked away from it. I meet his eyes. Did you? Really? For a long moment, he doesn't answer. Rain drums against the windows. Someone's phone rings, and goes unanswered. Rosa refills the coffee of a customer at the counter. My father was a complicated man, Dante says finally. He provided for his family, protected his people. But he also did things that kept me awake at night, things I swore I'd never do. He pauses. When he died, I inherited choices. I could continue his legacy, or I could build something different. I chose different. That's not really an answer. It's the only answer I can give you right now. His gaze is steady, unflinching. I won't lie to you, Elena. My past exists. Some of my father's associates still operate in the old ways. Some of his enemies still carry grudges, but my businesses are legitimate, my money is clean, and I will never put your community center or the people in it at risk. I want to believe him. God, I want to believe him. But Maria's warning echoes in my mind. I need time to now. Think about it, I say. This is a lot to process. Of course. He pulls a business card from his wallet and slides it across the table. My private number is on the back. Call me when you've decided, or if you need anything at all. I take the card, feeling the weight of heavy cardstock between my fingers. I'm not going to date you, I say, needing to establish that boundary clearly. I don't date clients' families, and I definitely don't date criminals. His smile returns, that devastating transformation that makes my traitorous heart skip. Good thing I'm reformed then. Reformed criminals are still criminals, I point out. True. He stands, buttoning his coat. But they're also men trying to be better than their worst moments. Doesn't everyone deserve that chance? He leaves before I can respond, walking back out into the rain with that same unhurried confidence. Through the window, I watch him climb into the town car, and I realize my hand is shaking slightly as I lift my coffee cup. Rosa appears at my table, wiping her hands on her apron. Be careful with that one, Mija, she says softly in Spanish, then English. The Andretti men, they're like fire. Beautiful, warm, necessary even. But they burn everything they touch. He just wants to help the center, I tell her. She gives me a look that says she's lived too long and seen too much to believe in altruism from men like Dante Andretti. Maybe, but men like him, they don't do anything without a reason. You figure out what he really wants before you accept his help. Luca arrives at the center that afternoon with a woman I don't recognize. She's in her 50s, with kind eyes and practical clothes, and introduces herself as Mrs. Castellano, Luca's nanny. Mr. Andretti said to give you this, she says, handing me an envelope. Inside is a check for the program fees, along with a note in strong slanted handwriting. Thank you for giving him this, D. I watch Luca hover at the edge of the basketball court, clearly wanting to join but uncertain how. Marcus spots him and waves him over, and within minutes, they're both laughing as Marcus tries to teach him how to dribble. The sight makes something warm bloom in my chest. Over the next 2 weeks, Luca becomes part of the fabric of the center. He's quiet, still hesitant, but he shows up every day with his homework and a packed lunch that Mrs. Castellano clearly spent time preparing. The other kids adopt him into their group naturally, the way children do when they recognize one of their own. Dante picks him up every evening at exactly 6 o'clock. Sometimes he stays for a few minutes, asking Luca about his day, observing the other children. Sometimes he catches my eye across the room, and something passes between us. A recognition, an acknowledgement of the thing neither of us is willing to name. I still haven't given him an answer about the building. Then, on a Friday evening, 2 weeks after our coffee meeting, everything changes. I'm locking up the center at 7:30, running late because the toilet in the boys' bathroom decided to overflow and flood half the hallway. Maria left an hour ago for her second job, and the last volunteer clocked out at 7. I'm alone, tired, and covered in dirty mop water when I hear footsteps in the parking lot behind the building. We're closed, I call out, not turning around as I fumble with the temperamental lock. Program hours are 3 to 6, Monday through Friday. I'm not here for your program. The voice is male, rough, with an accent I can't place. I'm here to deliver a message. Something in his tone makes my skin prickle. I turn slowly to find 3 men standing by the dumpster, blocking my path to my car. They're all wearing dark clothes, their faces shadowed in the dim light from the single functioning parking lot lamp. The one who spoke steps forward. He's built like a wrestler, all compact muscle and coiled violence. You need to close this place down. Accept Millennium's offer. Stop being stubborn. My heart is hammering, but I force my voice to stay steady. That's between me and my landlord. It has nothing to do with Millennium. Everything in this neighborhood has to do with Millennium. He takes another step closer. Mr. Volkov doesn't like complications, and you're becoming a complication. I'm just running a community center for kids, I say, hating how my voice shakes slightly. I'm not a threat to anyone. You're in the way. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. We're here to help you understand that continuing to be in the way would be bad for your health. One of the other men moves, circling around to cut off any escape route toward the street. I'm trapped between them and the building, with nowhere to run. This is your only warning, the first man says. Next time we won't be so polite. My phone is in my purse, which is inside the building. Even if I could reach it, I don't know who I'd call. The police? They'd arrive in 20 minutes, long after these men are gone. And then what? File a report that goes nowhere while Millennium's lawyers make my life hell? The man reaches out, and I flinch back instinctively. My back hits the building's brick wall. He smiles at my fear. Then headlights flood the parking lot, and a black town car pulls in fast, tires screeching slightly on the wet asphalt. Dante emerges from the back seat before the car has fully stopped. He doesn't run, doesn't hurry, but his presence fills the parking lot like a physical force. Marco, his driver, exits from the front, and I notice for the first time that Marco is built like a tank and moves like someone with military training. "Gentlemen," Dante says, his voice carrying easily across the space. "I believe the lady asked you to leave." The three men tense. The one who'd been speaking to me straightens, recognition dawning on his face. "Andretti, this isn't your business. Everything involving Elena Morrison is my business." Dante's voice is pleasant, almost conversational, but there's steel underneath. "I suggest you leave, now. CTA #2. Insert around 50% mark of full script. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one." "Volkov won't like this," the man says, but he's already backing away. "You're making an enemy. Marcus Volkov has been my enemy since we were 12 years old, and he tried to steal my lunch money." Dante's smile is cold, predatory. "Tell him Elena Morrison is under my protection now. Anyone who threatens her threatens me, and unlike Marcus, I don't send hired muscle to do my work." The implied threat hangs in the air, heavy and unmistakable. The three men exchange glances, then retreat toward a dark sedan parked at the far end of the lot. Within seconds, they're gone, taillights disappearing into the night. The adrenaline that's been keeping me upright suddenly drains away. My legs feel shaky, my hands trembling as the reality of what just happened crashes over me. I could have been hurt. Seriously hurt. And for what? For refusing to abandon a community center that means everything to these kids? "Elena." Dante's voice is gentle now, the hardness gone. He's beside me somehow, his hand on my elbow, steadying me. "Are you hurt? Did they touch? Are you?" I shake my head, not trusting my voice. My teeth want to chatter, but I clench my jaw against it. "I won't fall apart. I won't." "Marco, check the perimeter," Dante orders. "Make sure they're really gone. Then call Vincent. I want 2 men watching this building 24/7 starting tonight." "Boss, you sure about that?" Marco asks, his voice surprisingly soft for such a large man. "That's declaring war with Volkov. He declared war the moment he sent those men here." Dante's arm slides around my shoulders, and I should protest, should step away, but I'm shaking too hard in Dante's men. His warmth is the only solid thing in a world that's suddenly tilted sideways. "Let's get you inside." He guides me to the door, taking my keys from my nerveless fingers and unlocking it himself. Inside, the center looks exactly the same as it did 20 minutes ago. The same scuffed floors, the same peeling paint, the same flickering lights. But everything feels different now. Violated, unsafe. Dante leads me to my small office and sits me down in the chair behind my desk. He crouches in front of me, his hands gentle on my knees, his dark eyes searching my face. "Breathe, Elena." Deep breaths. "You're safe now." "They were going to hurt me," I whisper, the words finally breaking free. "They were going to hurt me, to make me leave. I won't let anyone hurt you." The intensity in his voice makes me look at him fully. "Do you understand? As long as I'm breathing, no one will touch." "Option you. You can't promise that. You can't." My voice breaks. "I can, and I just did." He reaches up to brush a strand of hair from my face, the gesture achingly tender. "I'm buying the building. Tomorrow, and I'm stationing security here around the clock. Volkov won't get within 100 feet of you or this place ever again. I can't let you do that. I can't let you declare war with another criminal because of me." His jaw tightens. "First, Volkov is the criminal. I'm a businessman who occasionally has to remind people of who I used to be. Second, this isn't just because of you. It's because of Luca and Marcus and every other kid who needs this place. And third," he pauses, his eyes holding mine, "it's exactly because of you. Because the thought of those men touching you makes me want to burn down everything Volkov has built. The raw honesty in his voice steals my breath. This isn't the controlled, measured man who met me for coffee. This is someone else entirely. Someone dangerous and protective and completely overwhelming. I don't date criminals, I whisper, but it sounds weak even to my own ears. His smile is soft, almost sad. I know, which is why I'm reformed, which is why I'm trying every day to be the man who deserves someone like you. You don't even know me. I know you spend your own money to feed kids whose families can't afford the program fee. I know you work 70-hour weeks for poverty wages because you believe in giving children a safe space. I know you lost your husband 3 years ago and poured your grief into building something beautiful instead of drowning in it. His hand cups my cheek. I know more than you think. You investigated me. I should be angry. I should push him away. I protect what's mine, he says simply. And you've been mine since the moment I walked through that door and saw you crouching beside a child, patient and kind even though you were exhausted and overwhelmed. I'm not yours. Not yet. His thumb traces my cheekbone. But you will be, because we both know you felt it too. That connection. That recognition of something that doesn't come along twice in a lifetime. Before I can respond, before I can deny or accept or even process what he's saying, his phone rings. He pulls it from his pocket, glances at the screen, and his expression hardens. I have to take this. He stands, but his hand lingers on my shoulder. Stay here. Marco is right outside. Don't leave this building until I come back. Dante, please, Elena, just this once. Don't argue. He steps into the hallway, and I hear his voice, low and intense, speaking rapid Italian. I catch fragments. Volkov, protection, the woman, not negotiable. I sit in my office chair, my body still trembling with adrenaline, and I try to understand how my life transformed so completely in the space of 2 weeks, how I went from struggling nonprofit director to the center of what sounds like a mob war, how I went from swearing I'd never let another man into my heart to sitting here, shaking, because Dante Andretti looked at me like I was worth burning down the world for. Michael believed in redemption, in second chances, in the fundamental goodness of people trying to be better. But Michael never met someone like Dante, someone who exists in the space between darkness and light, who uses the language of violence to protect what he loves. When Dante returns, his expression is grim. That was my attorney. Millennium Development filed paperwork this morning to have the building condemned for code violations. They're accelerating their timeline. Can they do that? They can if they have the right inspectors in their pocket. He runs a hand through his hair, frustration evident in the gesture. But I can fight it. I have connections too. Better ones. This is escalating too fast, I say, fear making my voice sharp. This morning, I was just trying to save a community center. Now there are threats and building condemnations and you're stationing armed guards. Yes, he interrupts, because Volkov doesn't play fair, and I won't let you be caught in the crossfire defenseless. Maybe I should just walk away, take the 50,000 and find a different location. His eyes flash. Is that what you want? I want everyone to be safe. I want the kids to be safe. My voice breaks again, and I hate myself for the weakness. I just want to do something good without Bo, it turning into a war zone. Dante is in front of me again, his hands framing my face, forcing me to look at him. Listen to me. Volkov started this. Not you. Not me. He's the one who decided that profit matters more than children having a safe place. He's the one who sent men to threaten you, and he's the one who's going to learn that some things are not negotiable. And what am I? I ask, searching his eyes. What am I to you, really? An excuse to fight an old enemy? A way to prove you're the good guy now? His expression softens. You're the woman I think about first thing in the morning, and last thing at night. You're the reason I find excuses to pick up Luca late, so I can see you for 5 more minutes. You're the first person in a decade who's made me want to be better, not for appearances or business, but because you deserve better. The words hit me like a physical force. No one has talked to me like this since Michael. No one has looked at me like I'm precious and vital and worth protecting at any cost. I'm scared, I admit. Of this? I'm scared too, he says, and the vulnerability in his voice makes my eyes sting. Because I haven't felt this way about anyone since. He stops himself. Since who? He's quiet for a long moment. Then, her name was Isabella. We were engaged 15 years ago, before my father died. She was the daughter of one of his associates. Sweet, kind, everything good. I hear the past tense, and my heart clenches. What happened? She was killed. Caught in the crossfire of the war that took my father. His voice is carefully controlled, but pain bleeds through. After that, I shut down, built walls, focused on business and making sure Luca would never have to live the life I lived. I told myself I didn't need anything else. And now, his forehead touches mine. Now I met you, and those walls don't feel like protection anymore. They feel like prison. I close my eyes, feeling the warmth of his breath against my lips, the solid strength of him surrounding me. This should terrify me. Everything about this situation should send me running. But instead, all I can think is that I haven't felt this alive. This seen, this valued since the night Michael told me he was going to marry me under the stars at Navy Pier. I don't date criminals. I whisper one more time. But it's not a rejection anymore. It's a question. Good thing I'm reformed, he whispers back. And then he kisses me. It's gentle at first, asking permission, giving me every chance to pull away. But when I don't, when I lean into him instead, the kiss deepens into something that feels like falling and flying at the same time. His hands are in my hair, mine clutching his shirt, and for the first time in 3 years, I feel something other than grief and exhaustion. I feel hope. When we finally break apart, both breathing hard, Dante rests his forehead against mine again. Let me protect you, he says. Let me buy the building and station security and keep you safe. And then, when this is over, when Volkov is handled and the danger is past, you can decide what you want. But right now, just let me keep you safe. I should say no. I should maintain my independence, my boundaries, my carefully constructed walls. But those men in the parking lot shattered something tonight. They reminded me that good intentions don't stop violence, that belief in doing the right thing doesn't shield you from people who don't care about right and wrong. Okay, I hear myself say. Okay. His eyes close. Briefly, relief washing over his features. Thank you. But Dante? I wait until he looks at me again. If you're lying to me, if this is some kind of manipulation or power play, if you hurt the kids or put them in danger, I won't, he says fiercely. I swear on everything I have, Elena, I won't. And despite everything, despite all my fears and doubts and Maria's warnings and Rosa's concerns, I believe him. The next morning, I wake up in a bedroom I don't recognize. For a panicked moment, I can't remember where I am or how I got here. Then the events of the previous night come, flooding back. The parking lot, the threats, Dante's kiss, and his insistence that I couldn't go back to my apartment above the Korean restaurant because it wasn't safe. Just for tonight, he'd said, until Marco can sweep your place and install proper security. But just for tonight, apparently, meant his penthouse in the Gold Coast, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Michigan and a guest room that's larger than my entire apartment. I find Dante in the kitchen, already dressed in a charcoal suit, speaking on the phone in Italian. When he sees me hovering in the doorway wearing the sleep clothes Mrs. Castellano somehow procured for me in the middle of the night, his expression softens. I'll call you back, he says into the phone, then sets it down. Coffee? Please. I move into the kitchen, hyper-aware of how domestic this feels, how dangerous this level of comfort is. After just one night, he pours me a cup from what looks like a professional espresso machine, adding cream without asking because somehow he's already memorized how I take my coffee. How did you sleep? Surprisingly well, considering. I accept the cup, our fingers brushing. The contact sends a jolt through me that I try to ignore. Thank you. For last night. For all of it. You don't need to thank me for keeping you safe. He leans against the counter, studying me. That's non-negotiable now. About that, I wrap both hands around the warm cup. We need to talk about what happens next. I can't just move in here and let you take over my life. I'm not trying to take over your life, Elena. I'm trying to keep you alive long enough to live it. There's a difference. His jaw tightens. Yes, one is control. The other is protection. Don't confuse the two. Before I can respond, his phone rings again. He glances at the screen and his expression hardens. I need to take this. It's my attorney. I sip my coffee and watch the sun rise over the lake while Dante speaks in low, urgent tones in the next room. Through the windows, Chicago looks peaceful, beautiful even, with morning light, gilding the skyscrapers. It's hard to believe that somewhere down there, Marcus Volkov is planning his next move. Dante returns, his face grim. The building condemnation hearing is scheduled for tomorrow. They're fast-tracking it. That's not legal, is it? It is if you have the right people in your pocket. He runs a hand through his hair, frustration evident. But I have a plan. I'm meeting with some city council members this afternoon. People who owe me favors. People who owe the old you favors, I correct. The you that wasn't reformed. His eyes flash. Does it matter where the manor favors came from if they save your community center? It's a fair question. One I don't have an answer for. I need to get to the center, I say instead. The kids will be there in a few hours, and Maria can't handle setup alone. Marco will drive you, and Vincent will be stationed outside all day. He moves closer, his hand coming up to cut my cheek. I know this feels overwhelming. I know you're not used to people protecting you, but please, Elena, don't fight me on the security. The gentleness in his touch contrasts sharply with the steel in his voice. This is a man used to giving orders, and having them followed, but he's asking rather than demanding. For him, I suspect that's a significant concession. Okay, I agree. But Dante, I need to understand something. Last night you said you were reformed, that you'd left your father's world behind. But you're calling in favors from that world, using connections from that life. How is that different? He's quiet for a long moment, his thumb tracing my cheekbone. Because the end goal is different, he says finally. My father used his power to build an empire of fear. I'm using what's left of that power to protect something good. That's the difference. The tools might be the same, but the purpose isn't. It's a rationalization. I know it is, but it's also not entirely wrong. Be careful today, I tell him. Whatever you're planning with the city council. His smile is soft. Always am. He kisses my forehead, the gesture, achingly tender. Go. Help Maria. I'll check in later. The center is already buzzing with activity when I arrive. Maria takes one look at me and pulls me into the office, closing the door behind us. You didn't go home last night, she says. It's not a question. How did you? I called you at 10, and midnight, and 2 in the morning. Her expression is torn between concern and exasperation. Where were you? I tell her everything. The men in the parking lot, Dante's arrival, his penthouse, the building condemnation hearing. With every word, her face grows more troubled. Elena, she says when I finish. You're in love with him. I'm not. But the denial dies on my lips because she's right. Somewhere between coffee at Rosie's and last night's kiss, I fell for Dante Andretti. For his intensity and his contradictions. For the way he looks at Luca like he'd die for him. For the way he touches me like I'm made of glass and steel at the same time. This is a mistake, Maria says gently. Men like him, they don't change. Not really. They just find better ways to hide what they are. Michael would have given him a chance, I say quietly. He believed people could change. Michael also believed the best in everyone, and it got him killed by a drunk driver who'd been arrested 5 times before, but kept getting his license back. Maria's voice is sharp with old pain. Sometimes believing in redemption is just another word for being naive. Her words hit harder than I expect. Maybe because part of me agrees with her. Part of me knows that letting Dante into my life, into my heart, is dangerous in ways I can't fully calculate. But another part of me remembers the tenderness in his eyes when he talks about Isabella, the way he crouches down to Luca's level to listen to, stories about his day, the fury in his voice when he said anyone who threatened me threatened him. I have to try, I tell Maria. I have to believe that people can be more than their worst moments. Because if I don't believe that, what's the point of any of this? I gesture around the office, encompassing the whole center. Why fight for these kids if I don't believe they can grow beyond their circumstances? Maria sighs, but her expression softens. Just be careful, Misha. Guard your heart. Because men like Dante Andretti, they don't mean to break hearts, but they do anyway. The day passes in a blur of normal activities that feel surreal, given everything happening in the background. Kids arrive, homework gets done, basketballs bounce on the court. Vincent stands outside, a silent presence that the kids pretend not to notice but absolutely do. Luca arrives with Mrs. Castellano at 3, and he immediately seeks me out. Uncle Dante said there was trouble last night, he says, his dark eyes worried. Are you okay? The fact that Dante told him anything surprises me. I'm fine, sweetheart. Your uncle took care of everything. He's good at that. Luca's smile is small but genuine. Taking care of people. He took care of me when Mama died. Even though he was scared. He told you he was scared? Luca nods. He said it's okay to be scared when you love someone. That being scared means you care enough to worry about losing them. Out of the mouths of babes. I pull Luca into a hug, this child who's lost so much, but still has faith in his uncle's protection. You're a pretty smart kid, you know that? Uncle Dante says that too. He pulls back, grinning. Can I go play basketball now? Go ahead. I watch him run off to join Marcus and the others, and I think about what he said. About being scared meaning you care. About love being worth the fear. At 5:30, my phone buzzes with a text from Dante. Meeting went well. On my way to you. Relief washes through me, followed immediately by anticipation that I try to ignore. I'm helping Marcus with his reading, when the door opens and Dante walks in. He's still in his suit, but his tie is loosened and there's a tension in his shoulders that wasn't there this morning. His eyes find mine across the room, and something passes between us. A recognition, an acknowledgement. Luca runs to him immediately. Uncle. Dante, Miss Elena said you fixed everything. Working on it, buddy. Dante ruffles his nephew's hair, but his gaze never leaves mine. Why don't you go get your things? We need to talk to Miss Elena for a minute. Once Luca is out of earshot, Dante moves closer. The condemnation hearing is still happening tomorrow, but I have commitments from 3 council members to vote against it. That should be enough. Should be. Volkov has money and influence too. This isn't over yet. He glances around, noting that most of the kids have already been picked up. Only Marcus and 2 others remain, along with Maria, who's pointedly not looking at us. Can we talk? Privately? I nod and lead him to my office. As soon as the door closes, he pulls me into his arms. For a moment, we just stand there, holding each other, and I feel the tension drain from his body. I hate this, he says into my hair. I hate that you're in danger because of me. I'm in danger because of Volkov, I correct. You're just trying to help. Is that what Maria thinks? His voice is dry. Because she's been glaring at me since I walked in. I pull back to look at him. She's worried about me. She thinks you're going to break my heart. She's probably right. His honesty catches me off guard. I don't know how to do this, Elena. Relationships. Normal things. I've spent 15 years building walls and keeping everyone at arm's length. So why are you doing this? Why risk it? His hand comes up to cup my face. Because the alternative is worse. Going back to that empty penthouse every night. Watching Luca grow up from a distance. Never feeling anything real again. His thumb brushes my lower lip. You make me want to try. To be the man you deserve instead of the one I've been. Before I can respond, the office door bursts open. Marco stands there, his usually calm expression replaced by urgency. Boss, we have a problem. Vincent just called. There's movement at the south entrance. Multiple vehicles. Armed men. Dante's entire demeanor changes instantly. The tender man holding me disappears, replaced by someone harder, colder, dangerous. How many? At least 6 that Vincent can see. Could be more. Marco's hand moves to something under his jacket. A gun, I realize with a jolt of terror. Get everyone to the back storage room, Dante orders, already moving toward the door. Maria knows where it is. Lock the door and don't open it for anyone except me or Marco. What about you? I grab his arm. You can't go out there. His eyes meet mine, and I see the truth in them. This is who he is. Not the businessman in the expensive suit, not the reformed criminal trying to go legitimate, but the man who will walk into danger without hesitation to protect what's his. I can and I will, he says. These kids, you, Luca, you're under my protection. That means something, Elena. It means everything. Dante. He kisses me, hard and fast. Trust me. I've been handling men like this since I was 25 years old. They're here to intimidate, not to start a war in a building full of children. But I need you safe while I deal with it. Maria appears, her face pale. Elena, the kids are scared. They can hear something happening outside. I'm torn between my responsibility to the children and my terror for Dante. But I see the look in his eyes, the absolute certainty that he can handle this, and I make a choice. Be careful, I whisper. Always am. He turns to Marco. Stay with them. If anyone gets past me, you know what to do." Then he's gone, striding through the center, toward the front entrance with the confidence of a man walking into a boardroom, not a potential firefight. Maria herds the 3 remaining kids and Luca into the back storage room. It's windowless, lined with shelves of supplies, with a heavy door that locks from the inside. Marco positions himself, in front of the door, his hand inside his jacket. "Uncle Dante will be okay, right?" Luca asks, his voice small and scared. I crouch beside him, taking his hand. "Your uncle is very good at taking care of people. He'll be okay. He promised Mama he'd always come back to me," Luca says. He promised. Through the thick walls, I hear muffled voices, then Dante's voice, clear and commanding. "This is private property. You need to leave." Another voice, rougher. "We have business with the owner. I'm the owner as of 10 o'clock this morning, which means you're trespassing." My heart leaps. He bought it. He actually bought the building. The rough voice again. "Volkov won't accept this. The building was supposed to be ours. Volkov doesn't always get what he wants." Dante's voice is ice cold. "Now leave, or I make a phone call that will have every cop in Chicago here in 5 minutes. And unlike you, I have the city council on speed dial." Silence. Long, tense silence. Then footsteps, car doors, engines starting. I realize I've been holding my breath. "Stay here," Marco orders, then slips out of the storage room. We hear low voices in the center, then footsteps approaching. It's clear. Marco calls through the door. I unlock it to find Dante standing there, looking completely calm except for the fury in his eyes. They're gone. For now. The kids rush out, Marcus immediately asking questions about the bad guys, while the other 2 head straight for their waiting parents. Luca runs to Dante, who catches him and holds him tight. "I kept my promise, buddy," Dante says softly. "I'm okay." Maria ushers the remaining kids out, leaving me alone with Dante, Marco, and Luca. The adrenaline is starting to fade, replaced by a trembling exhaustion. "You bought the building," I say. "Closed the deal this morning, Mr. Chen was very motivated to sell quickly once my attorney explained the legal protections he'd have against Millennium's retaliation." Dante sets Luca down gently. "Go with Mrs. Castellano, okay? Miss Elena and I need to talk." Once we're alone except for Marco, who discreetly moves to the front entrance, Dante pulls me into his arms again. This time, I feel him shaking slightly. I thought, his voice is rough. When Marco said armed men, all I could think was that I'd gotten you killed like I got Isabella killed. "I'm fine. Everyone's fine. This time." He pulls back, his hands framing my face. "But Volkov isn't going to stop. He's escalating, and as long as you're associated with me, you're a target. I see where this is going. Don't, Elena. Don't you dare try to push me away to protect me." I grip his wrists, holding him in place. "I'm not helpless. I'm not Isabella. And I'm not going to let you make decisions about my safety without me. You don't understand what you're asking, what staying with me means. Then explain it to me. Stop protecting me from the truth and just tell me." He's quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching. Mine. Then, "Volkov and I have history. Bad history. When I took over my father's organization, I dismantled most of it, sold territory, ended protection rackets, went legitimate. But some people didn't want to go legitimate. Volkov was one of them. He saw my reforms as weakness. He tried to take over, to claim what I was giving up." "What happened?" I stopped him. Forcefully. "People got hurt. His reputation never recovered." Dante's jaw tightens. He's been waiting 15 years for an opportunity to strike back. And now I've handed him one by caring about you. "So what do? We?" His laugh is harsh. "There is no we in this, Elena. This is my war, my past catching up. Except it's happening in my community center, threatening my kids, putting Luca in danger." I step closer, refusing to back down. "You don't get to decide I'm not part of this. I'm already part of it. The only question is whether we face it together or separately." For the first time since I've known him, Dante looks uncertain, vulnerable. "I can't lose you," he says quietly. "I can't go through that again." "Then don't push me away." I press my hand against his chest, feeling his heart racing beneath my palm. "Let me stand beside you. Let me be strong enough to handle this. "You're already strong enough," he says. That's what terrifies me. The next 24 hours pass in a blur. The building condemnation hearing happens as scheduled. But with Dante's political connections and his ownership of the building, the motion is defeated. Volkov's influence isn't enough to overcome 3 city council members publicly supporting the community center. But the victory feels hollow, because that night, as I'm getting ready for bed in Dante's guest room, I've been staying at the penthouse for 3 days now. My phone rings with an unknown number. "Miss Morrison." The voice is cultured, almost pleasant. "Marcus Volkov." We haven't been formally introduced, but I feel like we know each other quite well by now. My blood runs cold. "How did you get this number?" I make it my business to know things. Like how you're staying at Dante's penthouse. How fond he's become of you. How he looks at you like you're something precious. There's a pause. He looked at Isabella that way too. "Do you know what happened to her?" "I can't breathe. Can't speak. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time," Volkov continues, caught between Dante and his enemies. "Such a tragedy. I'd hate to see history repeat itself." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm stating facts. Dante's protection isn't as ironclad as he'd like you to believe. And women he loves have a tendency to die violently." Another pause. "You seem like a smart woman, Miss Morrison. Smart enough to know when you're in over your head. Walk away. Close the center. Take the money. Live." The call ends before I can respond. I sit there, phone clutched in my shaking hand, and I realize that everything Maria and Rosa warned me about is coming true. Dante's past is catching up, and I'm directly in its path. The question is, do I run or do I fight? I find Dante in his study, working late on his laptop. When he sees my face, he's on his feet immediately. "What happened?" I tell him about the call. With every word, his expression grows. Darker, more dangerous. "He threatened you directly." "It's not a question. He said women you love die violently." Dante flinches as if I've struck him. "He's trying to scare you away. That's all this is. Is it working?" I challenge. "Are you scared?" "Terrified." The admission is raw. "Because he's..." "Right, Elena. Everyone I've ever loved has been taken from me. My parents, Isabella, almost Luca. What if I can't protect you? What if caring about me is what gets you killed?" I move closer, taking his face in my hands the way he's done to me so many times. Then we make sure he doesn't win. Together. "You should leave. Go back to New York, or Boston, or anywhere that isn't Chicago. I'll keep the center running, keep funding it, but you need to be somewhere safe. I'm safest with you." I kiss him, gentle and certain. "And I'm not running. Not from this. Not from you. Elena, do you love me?" The question stops him cold. "Because if you do, if this is real, then we fight for it. Together. And if you don't, if I'm just another responsibility, then tell me now so I can leave before I fall any harder." His hands come up to cover mine, pressing them more firmly against his face. "I love you," he says, the words rough with emotion. "God help me, I love you. I've loved you since that first day, when you looked at me like I was just a man, not a name or a reputation. Since you fought for those kids without thinking twice about the cost. Then trust me to fight beside you." I kiss. To him again. "Trust me to be strong enough for this." For a long moment he just holds me, his face buried in my hair. Then, "Okay. But we do this my way. With my rules and my security and my strategy. As long as I'm part of the strategy." "You're the whole damn strategy," he mutters. "Everything is properly about keeping you safe." We spend the next hour planning. Dante calls in people I don't know, men with hard eyes and military bearing. Marco, Vincent, others whose names I don't catch. They speak in low voices about security protocols and safe houses and handling Volkov permanently. That last phrase makes my stomach clench. "What does that mean?" I ask when everyone else has left. "Handling him permanently?" Dante's eyes are flat, emotionless. "It means making sure he can never threaten you again. You're talking about killing him. I'm talking about protecting you, by whatever means necessary." "That's not being reformed," I say quietly. "That's being exactly what everyone says you are." His jaw tightens. "Would you rather I let him keep threatening you? Keep escalating until someone gets hurt? Until Luca gets caught in the crossfire? I'd rather we find a way that doesn't involve murder. There isn't one. Not with Volkov." He runs a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "This is who I am. Elena. This is the part of me I can't change. I will do whatever it takes to protect the people I love, even if it means becoming the monster everyone thinks I am. The words hang between us, heavy and unresolvable. I need to think, I say finally. I need some air. I walk out onto the penthouse balcony, the November wind cutting through my clothes. Below, Chicago glitters with a million lights, oblivious to the war being waged in its shadows. I think about Michael, who died because a drunk driver made a terrible choice, who never got a second chance or a do-over, who would have hated the idea of violence and revenge, but who also would have done anything to protect the people he loved. I think about Isabella, caught between Dante and his enemies, dying, for the crime of loving him. I think about Luca, who's already lost too much, who needs his uncle to be better than the legacy he inherited. And I think about the 15 kids at the community center who need a safe space, who need adults willing to fight for them, who need to believe that goodness can win. Dante joins me on the balcony, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders. For a while we just stand there in silence. I won't kill him, he says finally. Not unless I have no other choice. But I will make him wish he'd never heard your name. How? A smile curves his mouth, cold and calculated. The same way I've built everything since my father died. Information, leverage, making the cost of fighting me higher than the benefit of winning. He turns to face me fully. Volkov has secrets. Crimes he's committed that even his bought cops can't protect him from. I'm going to find them. And then I'm going to make him a very simple offer. Leave Chicago, or watch his empire burn. It's still manipulative, still using power and fear to get what he wants. But it's not murder. It's not adding more violence to a world already drowning in it. Okay, I say. But I'm helping. Absolutely not. Dante, I have resources too. Connections. Maria knows everyone in this neighborhood, and they trust her. If Volkov has secrets, people here know them. Let me help gather information. It's too dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous. I take his hand, but I'm not a damsel waiting to be rescued. I'm your partner, and partners help each other. He looks at me for a long moment, conflict clear on his face. Then he nods slowly. Partners, but you follow my lead on security. No taking risks without clearing them with me first. Deal. We seal it with a kiss, there, on the balcony with the city spread out beneath us, and I feel something shift between us. A new understanding, a new foundation built not on protection and dependence, but on mutual respect and trust. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together. CTA-3. Insert at very end. It takes 2 weeks to PA. Build the case against Marcus Volkov. 2 weeks of Maria's network of neighborhood contacts feeding us information. 2 weeks of Dante's investigators following money trails and uncovering shell corporations. 2 weeks of me learning exactly how far reformed extends when someone you love is threatened. The picture that emerges is damning. Volkov isn't just a developer with questionable ethics. He's running a criminal enterprise hidden behind legitimate businesses, money laundering, bribery, connections to human trafficking through his construction labor contracts. Dante presents it all to the FBI through his attorney. Then he delivers the evidence directly to Volkov with a simple message. Leave Chicago by the end of the month, or I share this with every news outlet in the city. 3 days later, Millennium Development announces they're ceasing operations in Illinois due to shifting market conditions. Marcus Volkov is on a flight to Miami by the weekend. The victory should feel sweet. Instead, I just feel exhausted. It's over, Dante says that night, finding me in the community center after hours. I've been avoiding the penthouse, avoiding him, trying to process everything that's happened. He's gone. You're safe. Am I? I turn to face him. Or is there just going to be another Volkov? Another enemy from your past? Another threat? His expression is carefully neutral. There might be. My past isn't something that disappears just because I want it to. I move closer to him, and I'm not naive enough to think this is the last time your past and my present will collide. But I need to know something. The man you were 2 weeks ago, when you told me you loved me, is that who you still are? Or did fighting Volkov remind you of who you used to be? He's quiet for a long moment. Then, both. I'm both men, Elena. The one trying to be better, and the one who will do terrible things to protect what's mine. I can't separate them. They're both me. I know. I take his hand. And I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm just asking you to keep trying. To keep choosing to be better when you can. And to let me help carry the weight when you can't. You still want this? He sounds almost disbelieving. Even after seeing what I'm capable of, I want you. All of you. The light and the dark and everything in between. I smile slightly. I don't date criminals. But I'm willing to date a man who's trying every day to be something more than his worst moments. Good thing I'm reformed then, he says, and this time when he smiles, it reaches his eyes. Reformed-ish, I correct, and he laughs. I'll take reformed-ish. He kisses me there in Tess, the empty community center, surrounded by the children's artwork on the walls and the scuffed basketball court and the flickering lights I still haven't fixed. And it feels like coming home, like finding something I didn't know I was searching for. 6 months later, I stand in that same community center, but everything has changed. The lights are new, LED fixtures that don't flicker. The basketball court has been refinished. There's a new computer lab and an expanded kitchen and a waiting list of kids that's 3 months long. Dante sits in my office, our office now, since I've officially moved into the penthouse, and he's become the center's largest donor and board member, reviewing expansion plans for a second location on the west side. If we lease the building on Madison, he's saying, we could have the new center operational by fall. I'm only half listening because Luka just scored his first basket in the game happening on the court, and the sound of the other kids cheering for him makes my heart swell. Elena? Dante prompts, amusement in his voice. Sorry. What? He closes the laptop and stands, moving to where I'm watching through the office window. His arms slide around my waist from behind, chin resting on my shoulder. You're not listening to me at all, are you? I'm listening to something better. I lean back against him. I'm listening to kids, being safe, being happy. Fair enough. He presses a kiss to my temple. Though I'll need an answer. Eventually about the West Side property. The answer is yes. It's always yes when it comes to helping more kids. Even if it means more board meetings, more fundraising dinners, more time spent with me. I turn in his arms to face him. Especially if it means more time with you. His smile is soft, tender, the expression he reserves only for me and Luka. I love you, Elena Morrison. I love you too, Dante Andretti. Reformed criminal and occasional pain in my ass. Occasionally? He raises an eyebrow. Frequently, I amend and kiss him. Through the office window, I can see Maria directing the plays a day. After-school chaos with practiced efficiency. Marcus is helping a new kid learn to dribble, just like he helped Luka months ago. 3 new volunteers are setting up for dinner service. This place, this impossible dream built from grief and hope, is thriving. Not despite Dante's involvement, but because of it. Because he chose to use his power and resources for something good. Because he chose to be better. Some people would say I'm naive for believing in his redemption, for loving a man with his history. But I've learned that redemption isn't a destination. It's a choice you make every single day. And Dante makes that choice. He makes it when he sits with Luka and helps with homework, when he donates to community centers and children's charities, when he looks at me like I'm the best thing that ever happened to him. Is he perfect? No. Do old enemies still surface occasionally, forcing him to make hard choices? Yes. But he faces them with me beside him now, with love to fight for instead of just vengeance to pursue. Marry me, he says suddenly. I blink, sure I've misheard. What? Marry me. He pulls a small velvet box from his pocket. How long has he been carrying? That? And opens it to reveal a simple, elegant diamond ring. I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring things out. But I'm sure about you, Elena. About us. I want to spend the rest of my life proving I can be the man you deserve. My eyes fill with tears. You already are. Is that a yes? That's a hell yes. I kiss him as he slides the ring onto my finger, and somewhere in the background, I hear Luka whoop and the other kids cheer. They were watching through the window, of course. Dante laughs against my lips. So much for a private moment. Private moments are overrated. I pull back to look at the ring, then at him. Besides, they're our family. They should be part of this. Our family, he echoes, and something in his expression makes my heart ache with happiness. I like the sound of that. Later that night, after the kids have gone home and the center is locked up, and we're back at the penthouse, Dante pulls me close in bed and says, "Thank you." For what? For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. For seeing past the reputation and the money and the danger to the man underneath. For making me want to be better. I curl into him, feeling his heart beat steady and strong beneath my cheek. You did the same for me. Made me believe I could have something more than just work and grief. Made me want to live again instead of just existing. We saved each other, he says softly. No. I tilt my head to look at him. We chose each other. That's different. Better. He kisses me then, slow and deep and full of promise. Promise of a future we'll build together. Of more community centers and more children helped. Of a family with Luca and maybe someday children of our own. Of love that's messy and complicated and real. I don't date criminals. But I'm marrying a man who's choosing every single day to be reformed. Who's using his power to protect instead of destroy. Who loves me enough to be vulnerable, to be better, to be the man we both know he can be. And that's enough. That's everything. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.